What's up, investors? Welcome to the Semiconductor Show, where we talk about stocks related to the semiconductor industry. And today we have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about ASML, just starting off with some of the news that's been happening since our last update, and then go into a stock analysis where we see, is this a good time to buy, and what's kind of coming up in the next couple days. So let's move my face out of the way here and just start off with a brief overview of what the company's been doing. So currently they're at 594, and in this past week they had a high of about 635. And as a year to date for 2022, they actually were close to about $800 at the beginning of the year, and they fell all the way down $200 to this 594 that we're at today. So this seems like it would be a great time to buy, but let's just kind of see what they've been up to recently. So to start off, let's make this a little bit smaller for us. So to start off, the company benefits from technology transitions as well as new additions in leading edge logic and memory chip capacity with a market share close to 90%. So that line, I mean, that is what made me fall in love with this company, and why I started a position, and why I want to continue to add to this is because they've cornered the market in terms of this lithography machinery. And that lithography machinery is what is etching out the programs on those semiconductor chips. And they're basically the only company in the world that does it. I mean, there are others, but the fact that they own 90%, that just shows the dominance that they hold on that industry. And so the fact that this is dropping so drastically, we need to add on to it. At least I feel that way, that I want to add on to this. And this article was about 1 month ago, and analysts at that time, just 1 month ago, were saying we're giving this a price target of $870 per share, and here we are, less than 600. So there is tremendous growth here, but we'll just kind of see. Let's continue to read what's been going on. So the company announced in January of 2022 that it's partnering up with U.S. chip giant Intel for its TwinScan EXE 5200 system. Chip production. This is a chip production machine that uses a larger lens and extreme ultraviolet light to manufacture more than 200 silicon wafers in an hour. According to the deal, Intel will be the first in the world to buy this machine from ASML. So what I'm taking from here is Intel is beginning to expand its operations, and as Intel expands, they are, they are trying to keep things in-house, but it's, as they're expanding, we're seeing that they're making connections with ASML for sure, and also with TSM. And TSM, they're going to be reporting earnings later this week, so definitely going to have a video on them just to kind of share what's coming in the future. But so sticking with Intel and ASML, there seems to be a alliance here that's kind of growing, and I think it's going to continue to grow as Intel expands into these the chip manufacturing, in terms of like turning into a TSM type fabrication company. So I do expect greater sales between Intel and ASML very soon, like in the next couple years, as they continue to expand. So the next big piece with ASML, they established this new share back buy program in July of 2021, and they have been buying their own stock like crazy these past 3 weeks. And so what this buyback program, this new one that they have established, ASML announced its new shareback buyback program to be executed by December 31st of 2023. So this year up and through next year. As part of this program, ASML intends to repurchase shares up to an amount of 90 billion euros. And so the conversion rate between like US dollars and euros is, I think the euro is like maybe $1.20 or something for every dollar that America has. So we'll keep that in mind, but they have been buying their own stock like crazy this past couple weeks. So I'm just going to share two of their recent purchases. This was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Every day they have been buying about 33 million worth of their share. Once again, this is in euros, so factor it down maybe uh, 10 to 15 up to 20%. But overall, I mean, if we were to convert this into American dollars, it's like high $20 million per day that they're buying back. And it seems like in terms of euros, I mean, we'll look at this in the stock analysis. So this started around March 28th at 622. So I didn't see these articles prior to this date. So we'll see. That might kind of give us an idea of what ASML feels like their stock is worth, or when is a good time to buy their stock, because they weren't doing this the week prior. So maybe they thought the stock was too much to buy back at the moment. And now that they're seeing this dip, they're like, this is a great time to buy, and that's why they're doing it. Here is just another example. More recently, you can see they're buying more shares, but right around the same value, about $33 million worth of euros. And yeah, so that's just, I thought that was interesting. They're being a buyer of themselves. That just shows that they do believe in their own company. And then their earnings are expected to come out very soon, April 20th. So that's just next week. And right now, they're expected to report earnings per share of $1.89 and their quarterly revenue of $3.91 billion. So we'll see how that actually pans out. And then in terms of the full year, at least Zacks Consensus, which is like a Yahoo Finance type of estimator, they're projecting for the whole year earnings of $19.22 per share and revenue of $23.93 billion per share, which in terms of revenue, which is to me more important at this moment, that would only be a projection of about a 9% increase. And so what I'm taking away from this is this just kind of feeds into the other analysts' idea of the cyclicality of the industry, because last year their revenue shot up probably like 30%, and now that it's dipping, I mean, it's still growing about 9%, but it's going from that 30% all the way down to 9%. So we'll just kind of follow this. I think the next big moment for ASML is going to be in about 2 or 3 years, when Intel, TSM, and Samsung all open their new fabrication companies. That's when ASML is really going to just explode in terms of revenue, because they're going to be selling these new machines, putting them into those new manufacturing centers, and that's going to be the big time to buy. Well, prior to that, but that's going to be when we really see the increase in stock value. So let's go into the stock analysis here. And you can see we're still kind of on the downtrend. And in terms of when ASML started buying, that was right at this green marker. They started buying during this week, and as the weeks kept coming, and the stock kept going lower, they became a little more aggressive in terms of buying. Still right around that 30 to 35 million dollars worth of euros, but overall, they seem to think that if you can get the stock around 670 or less, they seem to think that's a great deal, because prior to this week, they actually weren't buying, or at least articles weren't being published about them buying. So just kind of keeping that in mind, that for them, if it's under 670, it seems like that's when they're buying. So in terms for us, is now a good time to buy? Let's kind of zoom in a little bit here and just kind of see. So we're right at one of those inflection points. And I'm not going to put too much weight into this last bar, because that is the current week. That's just counting Monday and Tuesday, where these bars are the entire week. And so if we kind of take this one out, we're seeing that we're right at the bottom at one of our support lines. And if we zoom back out, I just want to mention that each one of these support lines, there's not much weight that we can put behind it, because this company shot off so fast that there's really not that much support. The fact that I made some of these lines darker is really just the fact that, like this one, for example, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 weeks, which is really just like 2 months of a little bit of support / resistance. So I made this one thicker just because we had about 2 months here and maybe an extra month here where it couldn't get above, and then once it did, it just exploded. And then as we came back, you can see once again there's a little bit of resistance here for another week, so that's why we made that line a little bit thicker. And then this one, kind of the same deal in the fact that there was a little bit of consolidation here for about 2 months, and there was a little bit of resistance for about like 2 or 3 weeks. So each one of these lines, even though I made them a little bit thicker, there's truly not that much support. But that kind of happens with a company that grows this quickly. And so right at this moment, I'm a fan of buying at one of these resistance slash support lines because me thinking that this company has growth in front of it, to buy at one of these support slash resistance lines, that just, to think of it as the company is growing, we're looking at it as a support line. So I'm under the impression that it's at that line, it's likely going to come back up, and in our case, to about 670. But of course, the bearish side would be it could just go through that line and keep dropping. And based on our trend line, that's actually probably more likely to be the case. So maybe this, depending on your viewpoint, maybe this isn't a good time to buy. And I'm actually going to just kind of shape this up a little bit just because I've seen other investors do this. They actually make like their trend lines a little bit, they basically draw two lines to kind of like show a gap in between. And so that's all I want to do here. I just want to share how we're seeing lower highs and also like lower lows. So I don't know if this is going to continue, but you can see we're definitely on a downtrend here. And we could even shape it up a little bit, something like that. The fact that we broke below here, this probably was a great time to buy. And we're right like in the middle of this channel that we just drew in here. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. We're getting closer to this resistance line here. So in terms of me and my buying, I honestly think this one could continue to drop. Right now, I don't have much free cash flow at the moment, so I can't really buy into this. But I do think this was a stock that I'd like to build on my current position. So if I were looking to buy, especially this week, the closer I can get this one to like 550 would be great. But we're at one of these support lines right around 600, just below 600. So if I had the funds, I would probably add another stock or two to this. That's currently not my case, but if I did, I might move things around just so I can kind of add on to this position, just because I feel like they have that high market share, the growth is there, and the cyclicality of the industry, just give it another year or two, and then this is going to surge right back up to 900 and possibly beyond. But for right now, in terms of a buying opportunity today, I would say now is decent. And if you're a little more patient, it could pull back all the way to 550. We touched on what they're expected to do. And one piece that I left off is their expected report, their estimated quarterly earnings of about 3.9 billion. That is projected to be down about 25%. So this is just kind of building on the cyclicality of the industry. So I do think this one will continue to drop. So if you can be patient and just kind of keep adding on as we continue to fall, I think that's a wise choice. So if you were able to say buy like 10 stocks of this, maybe just add one or two at this point. If it continues to fall, maybe add another one or two and just kind of follow the channel and see how that plays out. That would be my strategy if the funds were where they're supposed to be. So we'll kind of keep following this. And otherwise, that's kind of it. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll be back with another one. There's also a Webull account in the description below. That's the software we're using here. So if you don't have an account, please use that link. You'll get 5 free stocks for doing so. And otherwise, have a great night. I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.